especially tackling the food security topics in Northwest Syria, and hopefully we would be also adopting a whole of Syria approach as well. So without further ado, I would walk you through today's agenda, which will be starting by an overview of the humanitarian innovation, speaking of what it truly means and the different types of innovations, and we will then explore the history of RIL as a response innovation lab at the global level, at it's more of like a global initiative. And then afterwards, we would dive more into details and speaking of why we are focusing on food insecurity driven by climate change. And we would end up with discuss the challenge mapping workshops more in details. So before I start, I would also notify you that we will be having Q&A sessions between the sessions. So whenever you have any questions, maybe just hold until the session of the Q&A, or feel free to share it or drop it into the message bar. With that being said, I would hand over to the RIL MENA region, Ruba Hijazi, who will guide us through the first part of the agenda, which is covering the humanitarian innovation. Over to you, Ruba.
Thank you.
I would just stop sharing, sorry.
Thank you, Yaman, and I'm glad to be with you all today. Actually, we'll start by talking about innovation in humanitarian action and why innovation is important to our sector. Um, as we all know, there is a huge gap in funding our work in the aid and the humanitarian sector, and this gap is becoming bigger like day by day, and in order to be more efficient and more effective in our work, we really need to fill this gap. There is a pressing need to find more effective and more efficient ways to address the needs of a crisis affected population. So this is why we feel that innovation could be the answer for this a huge challenge. If we want to ask what is a humanitarian innovation and how we can define it, I will show you like short video that some of the experts are explaining why humanitarian innovation is important and how we can tackle a humanitarian innovation. Just let me know if you can hear the sound of the video.
Innovation for me is about people, processes, and products. It's about the people doing the work, the processes by which they do the work, and the products that they use to do those things. In the humanitarian sector, innovation is even more critical than ever. The humanitarian sector is facing a very particular challenge, which is, I think, that demand for humanitarian services and humanitarian responses is going to go up. And I think our capacity to respond in a traditional way to those needs is declining. So, resources are scarce, the problems are bigger. So in some ways, we've got these two kind of diverging curves. And in that context, I think there's no other option but to innovate in response to the context we're in.
One of the key things we have to always question, why are we doing this and who is doing this? So the first one is, why are we innovating? What is the purpose? What is our goal? What is the problems that we're trying to solve? And then who is doing this innovation? Are we engaging with the private sector? Are we engaging the people who are most impacted by this?
When we talk about people and innovation in the humanitarian sector, what we're talking about is changing the actors, identifying the local actors, the civil society groups, the first responders in conflict-affected countries, understanding what they know and empowering them to lead humanitarian responses.
We think about the concept of innovation, I think mainly in terms of tapping into the existing energy and potential of people on the ground in conflict areas, in places where humanitarian crises are happening, and enabling them to do their humanitarian conflict prevention, peace building work better. They're already doing it. So for us, the innovation is how do we really recognize it, validate it, support it so that it reaches more people.
when we talk about the processes, I think we're talking about the ways in which the humanitarian system, to the extent that such thing exists, works. We have to get away from a reactive model that puts big INGOs and big UN agencies first, from funding models that are program-based or sector-based, and really think about a new way of working that allows us to plan, engage in anticipatory action, provide structural organizational support for those fully capable first responders around the world.
I think the process of innovation is an incredibly powerful thing for development in that it builds people's capacity. It changes the way they think about themselves. Most people have an increased sense of agency. And honestly, it's fun, it's joyful, it's creative, and it gives people the opportunity to do that. It gives them the opportunity to do something that can directly impact their lives. And so I think innovation at this grassroots level is critically important for long-term individual and community transformation.
So really the question we have to be asking ourselves is, is our practice fit for purpose? Is our practice fit for context? And I think the challenge is that if we can't shift our practices from practices that were suited to, if you like, a non-complex world to practices that are more suited to a complex world, then we will go extinct, basically. Our institutions will essentially be not fit for purpose. They will not be able to respond to the crisis that we're dealing with.
When I talk about products, we talk about integrating the tools that are available now in the whole world in a way that's appropriate for the humanitarian sector.
The technology that connects us is really important. WhatsApp messages. My partners were sharing recipes for how do you make hand sanitizer from natural leaves and things on the ground through WhatsApp. I think one of the real values of doing co-creation and having the voice of the end user at the design table is that you can really understand what the priorities are, what the challenges are with existing solutions.
So I think one of the biggest benefits that we see from this reliance on these new technologies and new data collection tools is that we can anticipate things a lot better. And so the challenge now becomes, how do we improve our decision making, how to respond to them, and how to make sure that the benefits of these technologies end up materializing on the ground.
Only by engaging everyone in this process of innovation and adaptation and constantly thinking about new ways of doing things will we improve the humanitarian system so that it's capable of responding to the overwhelming needs we see today.
So a humanitarian innovation is an iterative process that identifies and adjusts and diffuse ideas for improving the humanitarian action. It's always adding value to our normal practices. And today we will be discussing also how humanitarian innovation is different from our usual practices. The important thing that we always like to emphasize that technology does not equal innovation. When we are talking about innovation in our sector, in the humanitarian sector, we are not talking only about technology, as innovation can come in different shapes and sizes. It can be product or service, it can be a process, it can be a position or paradigm. And I will give some examples about each of these types of innovations to make it clearer. When we talk about innovation as a product or service, during COVID, we faced this challenge with some kids in Yemen and Somal. They don't want to wash their hands. So this surprise soap was one of the solutions, one of the innovations that one of the innovators come up with. And we started to use this, putting a small toy inside the soap in order to encourage kids to wash their hands. When we talk about process innovation, also when we thought about developing a new wash facility in one of the camps, we asked the users in the camp, the people in the camp, what they want to how they want this wash facility to look like, and we design it with them in order to make sure that this facility is serving them in a good way. Another type of innovation is position innovation. In position innovation, we change how the product or service is targeting and is delivered to the end user. As an example, with this challenge of the detection and screening the kids who are facing malnutrition, because there is limitation with the number of
Arva, we lost your voice.
oh, is it better now?
No, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So, because there is a limitation of the caregivers who can detect and screen kids who have malnutrition, training mothers was a solution in order to be able to screen their kids in the house before coming to the caregiving centers. That supported the community health workers and allowed mothers only who know that their kids have a problem to go to the centers. Another example is paradigm innovation, another type of innovation, sorry. Paradigm innovation, when we change the way of delivering the service. As an example, Field Ready is encouraging manufacturing of the necessary relief items in the crisis area instead of having them from outside. That changed the supply chain of the humanitarian system, which is also important. Also, the innovation can come in different sizes as well. So some of the innovations can solve part of the problem. And this is an example, the Life Straw. The Life Straw is a filter that is inside a straw, where people in the camps and in the crisis area can use to filter any type of water in order to get water to drink. The challenge with this innovation that it can't remove all of the contaminations. An example, if there is like viruses or certain type of chemicals, it can't filter it. So, but it solves part of the problem. Sometimes the innovation can solve all of the problem, like this large-scale surface water treatment. It can treat the water in the area, but in the same time, it's coming with a cost, with high cost, and sometimes challenges with sustainability of such project. Also, there is some of innovations that can support in removing the problem. As an example, we use certain types of trees to support in addressing the challenge of environmental contamination. It can remove the water and the soil and the air contamination through planting certain type of trees, so that this kind of innovation can remove the whole problem. So now maybe in the chat, if you can write, how do you think innovation is different from standard programming? Maybe we can get answers during going into the main things regarding how innovation is different than standard programming. Innovation usually is a process. It's not like one thing that can fit for everything. It's not an creative idea. It's a process of a creative problem solving. During this process, we will generate new ways and improved ways of operating and questioning our existing practices. The important thing that it's contribute to lasting positive change. Also, there is a large degree of uncertainty in innovation. So we don't know if this innovation will really be addressing this exact challenge. Because of that, we usually start with piloting our innovations. Accordingly, we will generate significant learning to overcome gaps in knowledge and also to generate evidence. So this is the main things that make innovation different than standard programming. The innovation usually, as we said, it's a process. It's a process that starts with the recognition of the problem. And the challenge mapping exercise that we'll be conducting is here, is in the between recognition and search on the reasons of the problems, the root causes of the challenge, and to better identify the challenge, to understand the challenge that we are trying to address. Accordingly, we can go in two paths. We either adapt innovations from different sectors, or sometimes we invent if we found out that there is no solution for this kind of challenge. We usually adapt from different, either from different sectors or sometimes from other type of organizations. Like sometimes we go to the private sector to ask them about solutions. And we adapt these innovations, and accordingly, we pilot it, we test it, and if we found it successful, we can go to scaling up this innovation. We usually, in the Response Innovation Lab, we prefer to adapt innovations in order to reduce the amount and the resources that we put in invention, because invention will need more testing and more time to be conducted. So the standard programming is usually business as usual. It's like implementing a project that we have in a humanitarian sector, like our day-to-day activities in any NGO or INGO. Sometimes we adopt programs from different, let's say, different humanitarian organizations, or sometimes maybe from different cluster. This is like adaptation, and it's also standard programming. So whenever we get to colleagues like us in the humanitarian sector, we get some maybe solutions from them. It's still standard programming, but adaptation from different type of sectors is innovation, and invention as well is innovation. The degree of uncertainty will be increased from going from business as usual to invention. This is why, again, adaptation is good, is innovation, but at the same time with lower risk and degree of uncertainty. Also, one of the important things when we tackle innovation is having system thinking mindset. Not to think only about the exact problem without taking it as part of the system. Now we can see this saying that Albert Einstein said that if he has 1 hour to solve a problem, he will spend 55 minutes to think about the problem, the proper questions to ask, and after that the solution will be much easier to have. So we usually start with the challenge, and this is why we will have this challenge mapping exercise, and this is why we usually believe that it's better to start with a challenge when trying to unveil a solution or having an innovation. Innovation usually respond to two things: opportunities and challenges. But in our system, in our INGOs and aid system, we were built to solve challenges and to address challenges. So because of that, we see innovation as a solution. Another thing that we usually see in our workshops, there is a strong human impulse to jump to solutions without thinking through the problem. So usually when we ask people to write down what are the challenges that they have, we got lots of solutions, while we are trying to think about challenges, not solutions. Also, it's the understanding the challenge will support better design. When we understand the problem, we will be able to design better innovation. Also, it will allow us to measure the success or the failure. We will have a baseline, we understand the challenge that we are having, and we'll be able to see our impact And also that will be supporting the scaling potential of the innovation. Also here we can see an example when we have a challenge phrased with a solution in mind. As you can see the picture in the background, there is a question: how do we get more rural communities connected to the national power grid? So when we have this question, we have a solution in mind. The national power grid is the solution, but when we think, when we focus on the problem, we will see different type of questions. How can rural communities improve access to energy? How we can improve the access to energy for these rural communities? And now we can think about maybe solar panels, microgrids, and other type of solutions. So whenever we phrase the question or the challenge in a good way, we will be able to have better solutions, and we will be able to think also of better solutions. Also, sometimes we pretend that the problem is simple. We think about small part of the solutions. It's the problem, but it's all of the challenges that we are facing are part of a system, and this system is complex. So it's important for us to think about its complexity from the early beginning, and to think about all of the roots of the challenge that we are facing. Sometimes we think that the causes are what we can see in maybe in the camps, in some of the crisis areas, but there is some hidden roots that it's important to think about and to understand from the early beginning of the process. Now I will open the floor if there is any questions about this before maybe going deeply in the history and the background of the Response Innovation Lab. Any questions? Okay, if no questions.
Omar
Yeah.
has a question.
Okay, go ahead, Omar.
Thank you, Ruba, for the presentation. I'm not sure if it's a question or a comment. You focused a lot about asking the proper question to determine the proper solution for that. And you quoted Albert Einstein for that. However, part of the challenge for us as a humanitarian that we are bound by agreements, by donors regulations, and plenty of that is basically political regulations, not even programmatic or pragmatic. How, in your opinion, we can build or ask the proper question if basically we are tied by tons of political and legal regulations that prevent us from reaching that question? Thank you.
Yeah, I totally agree, Omar. Thank you so much for your question. Actually, we always have these discussions like on a different levels. We understand that innovation is hard to be implemented in the humanitarian sector because we usually are tied by the donors' regulations, and sometimes even our practices. It's hard to be changed. At the same time, we are working closely with different types of donors, and this is why the Response Innovation Lab is there to support and like having this kind of flexibility that we are trying to find for the humanitarian sector. So on a different levels, we are trying to convince the donors to be more flexible and understanding that innovation is different. Yani, we see that lots of donors want innovation to be there, but at the same time, we are not yani, until the moment we don't have the flexibility we need, not only in asking the questions and sometimes in the implementation. The process of innovation is highly iterative, and we usually start with a project and we end up with something totally different according to what's happening on the ground, and according to the changes that's happening during the piloting phase and sometimes the scaling phase. So we are doing that on a different levels. On the global level, we are trying to be part of the advocacy regarding having this kind of flexibility, and the donors to better understand innovation. And on our level, as a Response Innovation Lab, we are following this process in order to allow having innovation as part of the ecosystem in different places where we are working. Ahmad.
Thank you, Ruba. Thank you for the nice presentation and the valuable one. I would like to comment on this topic actually. Now, many donors who have started to support the innovation program, they have started to follow what they called innovation-friendly procurement process. So we appreciate that, and we appreciate the efforts are done to advocate with donors who are interested to support innovation in such processes or such practices.
Yeah, true. Thank
Thank you
you,
again.
Jamal.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yaman?
Yeah, thank you very much, Omar, for this valid question. But I also believe that following or adding to what Ruba and Ainat said, that I don't believe that as a response innovation lab or innovation in humanitarian sector should somehow look more of a standalone concept, that this is the new concept and you need to adopt. So what we are trying to do with the Response Innovation Lab also to inject new ideas by addressing the already challenges that you are facing. And this is something that you would understand it more, especially by having this convening events, collecting the challenges and addressing the challenges that are faced by the humanitarian responders themselves. So we try slowly by also informing the donors, we work closely with the clusters, with the decision makers on that, just to bring the perspective of innovation and inject it into the whole sector in a way or another, either food security or more of a cross-sectorial sectors, either wash, food security, health, and etc. Thank you.
Thank you, Yaman. Okay, so now we can continue with like short introduction about the Response Innovation Lab, who we are, and what we are trying to accomplish. The Response Innovation Lab is a collaborative initiative between World Vision International, Save the Children, Oxfam, Civic, and the Danish Refugees Council. When we started actually this concept, it was started in Nepal after the earthquake. We realized that the response generates high demand for solutions, and there is a huge need in the humanitarian sector for innovations. At the same time, there is a high supply. On the global and the local level, there is a huge number of innovations that are trying to address these humanitarian challenges, but at the same time, there is lack of coordination. And there is high barriers in the humanitarian sector for entry for non-traditional actors and for these innovators, which as a result, there is poor scalability of solutions, and sometimes even like there is no any type of partnerships or collaboration. So the Response Innovation Lab found out that it's important to build a humanitarian innovation ecosystem where innovation, demand, and supply can connect, and new partnerships can be created, and local actors can be able to scale their work and their innovations. We work in different locations around the world. In the MENA region, we are working, our lab is in the lab in Gaziantep, and it's supporting Northwest Syria. One of our affiliate facilities in Iraq, and here in Jordan, we have one affiliate facility. We used to have a Response Innovation Lab in Gaza, but it's suspended. All of the work is suspended for more than a year now. And also in the MENA region, we have some pop-up activities, specifically in Yemen. In other locations, we are working in East Africa. Our lab in Uganda and our lab in Somalia is also supporting our work. Also, we have several pop-up activities in South Sudan and other locations in East Africa. Also, our first, as we mentioned, our first Response Innovation Lab started from Nepal, and we also have this one, this small lab in Puerto Rico. So we are working in different locations around the world. We are part of a global network, and we are trying to support any crisis with connecting the humanitarian sector with innovations and solutions. So what we do, actually, we usually follow this process. Whenever we start working in any crisis, we start by mapping the different actors that are working in a specific location. And when we talk about actors, we are talking about the humanitarian actors, about the innovators, the academia, sometimes the government, and the innovation support organizations. Accordingly, we start convener events, convening these actors, and convener is similar to the challenge mapping exercise. In these conveners, we try to understand the challenges that the sectors are facing or specific sector is facing in the crisis. And when we complete identifying the challenges, we start searching for innovations and understanding who's doing what in the innovation that can solve these challenges. And whenever we think about innovations, we think about innovations on the local level. We don't try to get like innovations from Silicon Valley to support challenges in Yemen, because we believe that people on the crisis better understand their challenge, and they already have innovations that can address these challenges. So we support in matchmaking and brokering these partnerships. Whenever we have this partnership built, we support the two actors. We support the humanitarian sector to better understand the innovators and the innovation process. Sometimes we provide some kind of trainings for these organizations, and we also support the innovators to better generate evidence, to be able to measure their impact. We support them, and where we build their capacities, and we help having this partnership. So we support through piloting, and we also support in scaling the humanitarian innovation if we found out it's successful. As part of that, we support in scaling innovations in different organizations horizontally, not only vertically, because usually in the humanitarian sector, whenever we see scaling up, it's through the same organization. It can be through different departments, or sometimes in different locations. But for the Response Innovation Lab, because we are part of several organizations, we support scaling innovation in different organizations. Also, there is some resources that the Response Innovation Lab is offering. One of them is ShyNet. ShyNet is a toolkit that support in generating evidence and provide evidence-based monitoring and evaluation for the innovators and sometimes the humanitarian sector who want to pilot innovations can also use this tool. The partnerships for the Response Innovation Lab, as we mentioned, there is 5 core partners for the Response Innovation Lab. On the global level, we are also partners with several organizations who are working with in humanitarian innovation sector around the world. We're talking about ELRA, we are talking about Engineers Without Borders, a Humanitarian Leadership Academy, Innovation Norway, and different strategic partners. Also, we have a bunch of funding partners. And the important thing that we believe that it's highly important to have local actors on the local level to support our work and to make sure that they have a deep understanding and knowledge in order to support us, because as we mentioned, local actors better know the local context. So in Jordan, we have Majlisna, and they are hosting affiliate facility of the Response Innovation Lab. Now we have Rawanga in Iraq as well, Shakadon in Somalia, and different local partners that are supporting our work around the world. Partnering with the Response Innovation Lab is a fast track and gateway to the most cutting-edge programming in the humanitarian space and an opportunity to take part in the global system change. This is what we can offer, a deep engagement in the national ecosystem and coordinated global and regional programming and challenge-based innovations and projects for piloting and scaling. Now I would like to show one of the innovations that we supported in Iraq. It's let me see, I can share the screen. We saw that this innovation could be relevant. We worked on different innovations also around the world, and we supported different innovations in piloting and scaling. This innovation regarding hydroponics, using hydroponics to enhance barley production, it was in Anbar, and it was supported by our lab in Iraq. Our lab in Iraq was a different type of lab. It was more an incubation and agribusiness lab. This innovation, which was part of Al-Rabi' Al-Da'im company, our startup, they use water plantation technology to produce green barley without the use of soil. The result was high quantities of green barley in a short period of time and a reduction of water waste. The problem that the project tried to address was the lack of available green feed that is pesticide and fertilizers free. Also, the danger of herding cattle in natural fields due to the existence of mines and war residuals, and the lack of land to use for crops and producing plants. So they came up with this solution, and the innovation was to produce green barley without the use of soil, as we said. Instead, they used the water plantation technology. And this is one of the innovations that the Response Innovation Lab supported in the food security sector in Iraq, but we also worked with different and several innovations. We just wanted to give one example about what we innovation that we supported. So this is the Response Innovation Lab. Also, I will open the floor if there is any questions, and before going back to Yemen.
Thank you very much, Ruba, for the comprehensive overview. And it would be also nice, always nice to learn more about the Response Innovation Lab mission on how to address and inject innovation within the humanitarian response. So I'm not sure whether anyone has a question or specific questions. Bengin, please.
Hello, thank you, Ruba, for the presentation. Yeah, I have a small question regarding to that, your last example. As we start the innovation with identifying challenges they are existing in the community, for example, and we try to create innovative ideas or processes. You have mentioned the hydroponic, which is a good idea for green agriculture and climate smart agriculture, but and we have tried this type of ideas, for example, hydroponic, aquaponic, biogas, and biochar, and so on and so forth. But what I can say from my side is how we can create innovative ideas that align with the community, because for the hydroponic, in most cases it was not financially efficient, and most of the innovations are very weird for the community, so we are not able even to raise the interest of the community to do these innovations. So I want to hear from you. Thank you.
Yeah, this is highly important. Actually, during the challenge mapping exercise, we will focus on this: how to design the innovation with the users and with your beneficiaries and with the local communities. This is highly important, and the human-centered design is built in our like DNA in the Response Innovation Lab. So we usually design innovations with the end users. This is highly important to make sure that they will adapt the innovation, and also to make sure that we are solving the challenges that they are facing, not the challenges that we think that they are facing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pengin, and thank you very much, Ruba, for the introduction. Maybe also like following up also to the answer of Ruba as well. This is a very nice question, just to identify that we should work more on the problem rather than the solution. Because as you mentioned or reflected, Benguin, that you have been adopting a lot of solutions and innovations and a new way of irrigation, food systems, and etc. But it doesn't address the real challenges that faced by the community. And that's why the community somehow face some challenges, either for accepting these kind of innovations or accepting or having it more in a practical way to have adopting these kind of projects. So having that said that, just to zoom in a bit more into what we are doing at the Northwest Response Innovation Lab. So we have started in May 2024, and with the project duration or the initiative duration is would be lasting until February 2026. The objective is to create a platform to connect humanitarian actors with non-traditional ones. And here it's also emphasizing that we look into the communities having adopting human-centered design approaches as a priority, and especially for local innovators as well, to solve key challenges in recovery efforts in Northwest Syria by bringing innovative approaches to the humanitarian response to build or rebuild safer communities. From that's who's the target audience for the Northwest Syria Response Innovation Lab. It's the humanitarian responders themselves at the first stage, because as you might see, that our name or the name of the initiative is Response Innovation Lab. So we look into more injecting innovation at the response level. So we try to work with the complete ecosystem to tackle the most pressing challenges faced by the humanitarian responders in order to enhance the level of the response by injecting innovative approaches. For the functions, we follow the same approaches or approach of the Global Response Innovation Lab, or RIL. So we start with mapping challenges and stakeholders, then convening challenge mapping workshops or convener events as some, to develop innovative solutions for responders. And here I'm saying the humanitarian responders, but it's not only limited to them, rather than also including the non-traditional actors, which might include service providers, experts, academia, youth, women, whoever have some expertise or stake in the challenge itself. Then we facilitate matchmaking and brokering. And here, matchmaking and brokering is not only limited to organization or firm to firm or like that. It's more of like matchmaking and brokering challenges that we already collected or invested resources and collecting or identifying challenges with possible solutions. For instance, the example that shared by Ruba, it's quite somehow adaptable in Iraq and had somehow contributed to enhance the food security in a way or another. But is it really this solution could be adopted in Northwest Syria? This is always being a question. So what we do, it's more of like having a database or explore ideas either in at the challenge level or innovation level, and we are trying to match or adapt this level of challenges versus innovations or solutions in a way or another, because like we always look into innovations as a solution to a pressing problem. So innovation, it doesn't mean invention in a way or another, especially in the humanitarian sector. And with the lack of funding that all the organization, not only for Syria, by the way, at the global level, they are facing a lot of things that are challenging with the lack of funds, lack of resources, and etc. And innovation could be the solution for either cut some like financial resources, better use financial resources, and also like make things either better quality, better time efficiency, and etc. And then we do more of like pilot innovations. We pilot based on the working that we are doing with the challenge mapping exercises. We identify root challenges that we work together with with all the organizations or the key actors that we are inviting into this challenges or convening events, and we try to develop either ideas or some innovative solutions to do the matchmaking and broker. So if you could see that it's more of like linear functions, but at the same time, it has a lot of like going back and forth. Then generating knowledge and evidence, because like even though that some pilots or some experiences are not quite successful, but like relying on the lessons learned, especially I'm sorry, I'm just going back a lot of about the example shared by Ruba, but thank you very much, Bengin, for bringing the question up, because it give us a learning that whenever we develop an innovative approach or a solution, whatever, we need to adopt human-centered design, and we need also to consult or evaluate how much the solution could be adaptable to the context that they are working, either in Northwest Syria or to a broader region like the whole of Syria. So, what we have done until now, or just a glimpse about what kind of activities we have done until today. We have done a launching event. We began by raising awareness for the response lab in general, bringing together key stakeholders in the humanitarian ecosystem in Northwest Syria, and by fostering relationships and collaborations, and not only limited to humanitarian actors. For instance, this launching event was like 50-50% of like service providers, people are somehow experts, academia, that they were somehow included or have the chance or the space or a platform to share their ideas and to share their contributions. Because if we go back on time in 2015, once the Response Innovation Lab has born, one of the colleague from Nepal World Vision had come with the idea that while addressing humanitarian, like the challenges faced by the humanitarian responders, all the stakeholders or the ones who are consultant on that specific challenges are somehow overseeing the potentials of tech companies, of individual experts for adopting human-centered designs and etc. So it's always a challenge, especially working remotely from Gaziantep, but at the same time, we are always trying to foster this relationship and trying to have this collaboration with the non-traditional actors to enhance or to contribute to enhancing a better humanitarian response. So based on that, also we have found that we need to fill the gap of also bringing local innovators or local expertise into the discussions, because like within this 10 years or 13 years of response, of a humanitarian response, we are always having these discussions, workshops among only organizations that they are on the ground, but at the same time working on a bit of a remote basis. Uh, And to cover that and to not leaving anyone behind, we believing on also localization, we have supported the establishment of what we call a Response Innovation Hub, the first and only innovation hub in Northwest Syria, located in Azaz, with the partnership of Fidredi Turkey, that they have been already being piloting and prototyping innovations at the different sectors since 2017. The Innovation Hub is designed to serve as a creative space for local innovators, including youth, women, and others. It will be facilitating back-to-back challenge mapping workshops. So whenever we do a challenge mapping exercises or convening events, we do it one in Gaziantep, and based on the results, we also having a back-to-back workshop or conveners in Azaz. Um, just to make sure that all the voices are heard, we bring the perspectives of the people that's doing the managements, and also like for the people on the grounds, for the frontliners and etc. And especially as like seizing the opportunity that people on the ground has a different perspectives, and not always their voices are heard. Um, and hopefully now with the recent developments in Syria, we will be engaging more with government institutions, more formal institutions, to try also to bring up more innovative solutions and sustainable at the same time, uh, serving the humanitarian sector, but at the same time also keeping an sustainable impact. Along that, they would also like we will be providing local innovative youth and women trainings on innovation, human-centered design, and design thinking. And the cherry on top, we will be piloting what we have called innovation study tours, starting with women-led organizations and CPOs, which is more of like entertaining tour, but also introducing the concept of innovation for these local CPOs and women-led organizations. So stay tuned. It will be the last week of February. Stay tuned for hearing the results, and maybe you could also consider visiting the Response Innovation Hub in Azaz. Just continuing the process, as mentioned by Ruba earlier, we are more of innovation process. So we start with recognition of the challenge itself, have the search, and the search here more of like identifying the challenges, understanding the root causes, the innovations, the gaps, the possibilities, the relationships between the different ecosystems and etc. And then we go for like either adaptation, invention, which we always like just to save, don't spend too much money on the humanitarian response, and to better understand the ecosystem in a way or another. So we always push for adaptation, and like humanitarian responders, they have been doing it since ages, and it's always about putting the puzzles and trying to understand the context and trying to explore what kind of projects could be done. And then we pilot, and then scaling up at the very last stage. So this is more of like an overview what we do, ecosystem mapping. So it's like we map the stakeholders themselves at different sectors. We have an interactive map, which is at the website of responseinnovationlab.com. We always trying to update, putting the profiles of the people, especially in Northwest Syria, but at the same time, we'll try also like to expand the broad audience and the stakeholders, especially in specific sectors. Then challenge mapping workshops at the same time. So it's more of a practical now. It's we have done our first convener at the WASH, targeting the WASH cluster, our WASH sector. We have done a convener event in October 2024. The objective was convening relevant stakeholders in the WASH sector in close coordination with the WASH cluster as well. It's always also nice to understand the challenges faced by the cluster and all the stakeholders and the key stakeholders. Especially, we will not be piloting. We don't have enough resources or enough time also to address all the challenges at the one shot. But at the same time, it would be serve a good place for advocacy. So we advocate all the collection of challenges or all the work that we are doing through the workshops, also to try to advocate on that at different levels, either at the global level with the Response Innovation Lab portfolio, um, internationally with many webinars and etc. And at the cluster level, we are always having this coordination with the cluster to share the challenges, and especially these kind of challenges are owned by the organizations themselves. So we are more of like you think of facilitator. Sorry. So we are more of facilitating the processes, but who's owning the system or who's owning the outcomes, the inputs, and etc. It's you. It's INGOs, it's local organizations, it's innovators, and etc. What we have done is to understand. We have did the data collection or call for challenges, similar to what we have done for the food security. We have identified the challenge of poor sanitation management using design thinking toolkits, and we have explored possible innovations to foster collaboration between different actors. Here's some photos also like from the discussions and the challenge mapping exercise we have done in Gaziantep. And this is the one also, the one in Azaz, as I mentioned, that we do a back-to-back workshops to make sure that all the voices are heard, or the entities have a space to either share their concerns, challenges, or either also approaches for innovations and suggestions for enhancing the response in a way or another. And it was also like, as I mentioned, the Response Innovation Hub we are working at with a partnership with Field Ready Turkey. So, speaking of matchmaking and piloting, from the WASH convener or the WASH challenge mapping exercise, the experts agreed on the critical need to improve the access to credible and accurate data regarding sanitation facilities. You might be somehow surprised, but same for me. It was like when I was just discussing with the experts, with the organizations, and etc. They said that there's no database that collect all the information, accurate information, and reliable information about sanitations, and there is a lot of challenges have been shared by the organization, saying that I've I've did a treatment institution, a treatment center, a treatment thing in specific location, but at the same time I didn't know that there was something happening, taking place at the same time. So a better coordination, a better also decision making, I will be speaking in the next slide. Also, like along with the absence of reporting mechanisms and communication channels with the communities and households. So it's also a bit a challenge also at the community level or at household level, because they have felt, especially working as a sanitation responders or responding to sanitation issues, that it's always a challenge to get updated about the challenges faced by the communities. So having a mechanism or having a channel for these communities or households to communicate their challenges, their problems to the responders, that would be have an added value to that. Uh, so that was the challenge, and here are the somehow the innovation or the solution that we are now in the piloting process, and we have called it Sani Data Platform, which is Sanitation Data Platform. We'll be implementing it or piloting it with our colleagues from Hand in Hand organization, and it's at the piloting level, but we aim at providing reliable and time data on sewage networks, infrastructure, treatment stations, and services in Northwest Syria. And that's because of or aiming or with the objective of improving planning and decision making, enabling or enable data-driven strategies for effective interventions. And this is very important also to like for more of like um, data assessment, need assessments. Also, like from economical point of view, there's a lot of like infrastructures that could be somehow adapted to other infrastructures, especially for the sanitations and etc. So better decision making. It's also at the donor level whenever we have a reliable data to be shared or a system that be a reference for either the responders or the cluster or even at household level, we would somehow see how we would do or we would somehow plan our activities either in the sanitation, and I will go more in details about also like there's a lot of intersectionality as well between food security, because like if we could somehow see the impact of the sewage networks, especially on irrigation, the use of water waste into agriculture lands and etc. So it would be a good reference for a comprehensive platform for decision making. Also, enhancing stakeholder coordinations, strengthening the collaboration among key actors. It's more of like sometimes there's a lot of like collaboration opportunities within while mapping this kind of information. And then identify needs and priorities that I have mentioned earlier. Okay, so as I mentioned, it's like more of like pressing challenge, matchmaking, and innovation. So that's the way how it works, or how we are somehow envisioned to work as a piloting challenge, seeing challenges, identify challenges, and then developing solutions. And solutions might not be innovative, but what's the identification or what's the clarification of innovation? Innovation normally it's more of like finding a solution for a pressing challenge that you haven't find a solution for, and or maybe it's never exists. So there's a lot of things that's it's quite obvious, but no one is doing it. So innovation, it could be just a normal project that you are doing, but at the same time, if it's serves the purpose of the challenge, it's an innovation itself. It's also supporting pilot innovations. So based on the results of the convening events, we try to do or we provide seed funding or pilots at a small scale, and then we advocate for within the success, based on the success of these pilots, we're trying to scale up either uh, with our collaboration with the Global Response Innovation Lab, or also encouraging the organizations or the pilot or local organizations or partners also to seek fund from different donors and different opportunities. Especially now, there's a lot of uh, funding opportunities are being somehow adopted, especially by the Norwegian, by the Norway. So there's an innovation Norway. It's always investing on scaling up innovation at the same time also piloting some innovations. So normally we do funding pilots, as mentioned by Ruba. We also provide coaching, capacity building, technical support, offering our toolkits, meal assistance, and fundraising, and promote match-made innovations. And then for this generating knowledge and evidence, we always document the concept, the pivoting are the documents, the process. So whenever we have anything we have it in mind, we always try to document the process to understand and generate evidence about the diary of everything. We also hope to have a tank. Tank means more of like continuing or containing or including challenges and innovations for the matchmaking purposes. We have some couples in the Response Innovation Lab at the global level. So I would encourage you also to either refer to their LinkedIn page or at the website page. They have a lot of things to be shared and knowledge that they already have been sharing. At Northwest Response Innovation Lab will be also committing for more of online exchange, webinars, sharing reports, and hopefully also trying to also do some newsletters. Sorry. So with that, I'm not sure whether anyone has questions, reflections from what we have said or presented. Okay, so if it's not the case, I'm sorry also like for somehow overload you with the content, but it's about the info session. So it's mainly 2 hours. I believe that we would end a bit earlier, but it would be also like good also to let you know and share all these kind of things just to onboard you for the workshop. Bengin, please.
Thank you, Yaman. Yeah, I have like a short comment related to the coordination, like between stakeholders, mainly the organization. Like, frankly speaking, what I have faced personally is that many organizations, once they are trying to like do innovations on the ground, they are trying to hide informations. So they are not sharing information with other partners, like neither lesson learned, for example, because like a big portion of the innovations are failed in Northwest Syria. Uh, uh, like also like my other comment is related to the like you have tried to present in the WASH cluster. So I would like to recommend also to have intercluster sessions and workshops. I think this would be also more efficient, better for us also to understand and be able to like design innovations in the future. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Actually, this is always the case, and we have discussed it and explored it within the WASH conveners. Maybe the thing that I haven't mentioned or I forgot to mention is by piloting the Sunny Data platform, uh, we do it collaboratively because like all the organizations, they are facing this challenge. So we are now building it with hand in hand, but at the same time, like we created a group called Innovation Wash Club. It's more of a smaller group, not other somehow. It's more of a community of practice, but all the organizations around like 15 or 14 organizations, they were eager to share the information that they have with hand in hand to be adopted into this Sunny Data platform just in the purpose because this is the challenge that they own, that they are suffering from, and solving this or addressing this challenge would somehow contribute to their programming and decision making, at the same time the level of their response and etc. And that's why the collaboration should be somehow being tackled in a way or another that's all the people in the challenge mapping exercise or the conveners, they own the process. And now I will hand over to my colleague Hussein. Let me just go back to 1 second. Sorry. I will hand over to Hussein just to let you know or to also explain the process of like why we have identified the food insecurity driven by climate change challenge, what the things would be somehow being developed through the workshops. So we are totally aware with this collaboration, and I believe the concept, at least from the experience that we have learned through the WASH challenge mapping exercise, that it was a success, not only about addressing sanitation issues, but at the same time address the challenge of having this collaboration and no one of information sharing and etc. Thank you very much, Benguin, for the questions. Indeed, a quite valid one. So, having said that, we would explore now why the challenge of food insecurity by climate change. I would hand over to my colleague Hussein, the FSL projects manager, to answer this question and walk us through the process of identifying the challenge. Over to you, Hussein.
Yeah, thanks a million, dear Yaman, Ruba, and Lauren for your presentation. Good morning all, good afternoon, sorry. And most welcome everyone. This is Hussein Barish. I'm working for food security sector and program quality since 2013. Today I'm blessed to welcome all of you for our meeting on World Vision Response Innovation Lab. Today we are here to share ideas and collaborate to find new and innovative solutions to the challenges we face in the field of humanitarian response. This meeting is a valuable opportunity to leverage our diverse expertise and collective creativity to improve the lives of the people we serve. We are working to create positive change and have a real sustainable impact on the communities we support. I hope that we all benefit from this gathering and contribute actively to enriching the discussion and presenting new insights that help achieve our common goals. Once again, thanks to you all for being here, and I look forward for productive and constructive discussion about our meeting today. If you can go to the next slide, please, Yaman. So I'm going to start first about the process of call for challenges, which is initiated by my colleague Yaman, our response manager. So as you all know, we are in deep coordination with FSL cluster, and I would like to thank them once again for being here and for supporting us and leading us during all the process. We were in deep coordination with FSL cluster. So we shared a call for challenges, mainly for food security sector. And this mail has been circulated among all food security cluster partners. So far, we received a good amount of response from different partners, donors, and international and local NGOs. We almost received more than 40 valid response and challenges from 20 different organizations working in Turkey and Northwest Syria. So the process has been identified mainly into three main sections. The first of all, it was about collective of challenges faced by stakeholder. The second one about how we make the stakeholder own the process itself, and the third and last point about identify a common challenge. So as I said, like in collaboration with the FSL cluster, we start about asking different stakeholders to share their challenges that they are handling in their response through sharing the link which circulated by email from FSL cluster. After that, we give a tight deadline and we receive a good amount of response, more than 40 valid challenges from 20 different organizations based in Turkey. About identifying the common challenges, as you know, we have established a technical committee to identify the challenge we want to explore, including FSL cluster and World Vision Syria response, and technical department by my colleague Zahra, and FSL projects manager, who's me. So we formulated a kind of committee internally based on the responses which we received. We didn't want to identify a challenge that based on our interest, but we more make our colleagues and partners and stakeholders on the process itself. And I'm going to talk about it once more in the next slide. If you can go to the next slide, please, Yaman. So here you can see about call of challenges. We have received different challenges input from different partners, including and not limited to about data verification, destroyed infrastructure, impact of climate change and earthquake, drought and soil pollution, supply chain and logistic. As you all expertise, the situation is dire inside Syria. Without significant intervention, millions of Syrians remain at risk of hunger and malnutrition. Addressing food insecurity in Syria require a multifaceted approach, including climate adaptation strategies, economic support, and humanitarian aid. For call for challenges, I can, as you can see, like from the slide shared, like we have different responses, and we try to summarize it and try to find a way that partners on the process, and at the same time, we find a topic that relevant to most of the most important received point. So I summarize it in mainly 5 or 6 points. I'm going to start first with water scarcity. As you know, like the prolonged droughts and insufficient water management have led to severe water shortage, impacting crop production and livestock. Also, we have received a lot of responses mainly about soil degradation. Continuous of farmer without proper soil management practices has resulted in soil erosion and nutrient depletion, reducing agriculture productivity. Also about accessing the inputs. Farmers, as you know, like struggle to access essential inputs like seeds, fertilizers, pesticide due to high cost and supply chain disruption. Also, like, and we just faced it last week, you know, we have like incredible fuel price fluctuation, and also we have fuel shortage. The high cost of scarcity of fuel make it difficult for farmers to operate machinery and irrigation system, further hampering agriculture activity. And also conflict and displacement, signs that now situation started to be a bit calm in Syria, with some points still having some conflict, but the ongoing conflict has displaced many farmers, leading to a loss of agricultural knowledge and labor. Additionally, agricultural infrastructure has been damaged or destroyed. And for sure, economic instability, high inflation rate, because like $1 hit almost 16,000 Syrian pounds, but just 2 days ago, the price was good, like almost like 9,000. But still it's not stable, like fluctuate between day and other. So those high fluctuation rate and currency devaluation and economic sanctions have made it challenge for farmers to sustain their livelihood. And for sure, the earthquake, which all of us has impacted somehow, like 6th of February, like during 2 years ago, not only for Northwest Syria, but also across the whole Syria, because mainly Idlib, rural Aleppo, and wide and a large number of Jabli and Lazqiya have been affected from this one. And the last point about it, also landmines pose a significant challenges to agriculture in many parts, not only in Syria, but in the whole world. They contaminate fertile land, making it unsafe for farming and posing a constant threat to farmers and their families. Unfortunately, according to last reports which I read, like almost 82 persons or more has been so far killed by landmines and explosive remains of the war after the 8th of December up to date, which make it really hard for farmers to go for their agriculture lands and to see it. Overall, saying like all of those challenges, which I summarize it like in 6 or 7 points, has been leading us to go further to the point which already identified by our colleague about food insecurity driven by climate change. If you can go to the next slide, please, Yaman. Yeah. So for challenge identification, like we, once again, we consider all received challenges as we received over 40 response. We try to have common among different stakeholders, and one of the most pressing challenges hindering the humanitarian response. And we, as always, like broad but focused on our response. Talking about climate change itself, as you know, like climate change has significantly separated food insecurity in Syria. The country, Syria, already vulnerable agriculture sector, which has been further strained by severe drought, rising temperature, and erratic rainfall, leading to myriad of challenge for farmers and communities. Over the past decade, Syria has experienced some of the most prolonged and intense drought and its history. These droughts have dramatically reduced water availability for irrigation, leaving fields parched and unable to sustain crop. Farmers who rely heavily on constant and sufficient rainfall have watched their yields diminished year after year, unfortunately. The water crisis has not only affected crop production, but also has led to a decrease in the availability of drinking water for communities, amplifying the humanitarian crisis. Also, rising temperature have added another layer of complexity to the agriculture challenge inside Syria, as higher temperature accelerate the evaporation of water from the soil, further depletion already scarce groundwater resources. Why we selected this topic and why we further go inside it, like also I'm trying to summarize it in main 5 points. I'm gonna start like first about increased frequency and severity, second point about raising temperature, second point about erratic rainfall, and fourth one about impact of climate change on livestock as it's somehow linked to agriculture, about increased pest and diseases incidence, and impact on agriculture in general. So generally and in summary, like about increased frequency and severity of drought, climate change has led to most frequent and severe drought, which have a devastating impact on crop yields and water availability. About rising temperature, we already talked about it, like as temperature accelerate evaporation rates leading to soil drains and reduce groundwater level, which this make like difficult for crops to thrive and reduce overall agriculture productivity. About erratic rainfall partners, unpredictable rainfall trends make it challenging for farmers to plan their planting and harvesting schedule, leading to crop failure and reducing yield. In terms of livestock and impact on climate change, about impact on livestock, higher temperature and water scarcity affect livestock health and productivity, leading to decreased meat and dairy production. About pest and diseases incidents like warmer temperature and changing weather create favorable condition for pests and diseases, which can devastate crops and livestock. And in general, about impact on agriculture, like Syria really relies on rainfall, which has become increasing. Lastly, higher temperature accelerate water evaporation, leading to soil drainage and reduced groundwater, which resulted in lower crop yields and the abandonment of farmer land. Overall, saying from my perspective and as a summary, like climate change has compounded the existing challenge faced by the agriculture sector in Syria. Severe drought, rising temperature, and erratic rainfall have all contributed to a significant decline in agriculture production, leading to widespread food insecurity. Addressing this issue requires a comprehensive and coordinated response that includes both immediate humanitarian aid and long-term climate adaptation strategies. All of those which has been summarized and talked about, I guess like during our upcoming meeting on the 12th of February, we're gonna go step by step. We're gonna be segregated into groups. We're gonna bring all expertise from different sectors to talk more about it and how we can, through our innovation lab, address more those challenges. Next slide, please, Iman. So now, sorry if I was a bit speed. If you have any question from your side, from your end, I'm ready to address. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Hussein. And I would also like have a special thanks also to our colleague from the FSL cluster, Dr. Muhammad Abed. He also contributed a lot, was also like preparing the discussions, preparing the challenges and etc. Unfortunately, him together with Zahra, our technical advisor at the World Vision Syria Response, wouldn't make it for today. But at the same time, thank you very much also, Hussein, for being so eager also like to be in the committee to explore the challenges and hence to identify the pressing challenges that we would somehow take it for the challenge mapping exercise. I would like to have a question or reflections from the colleagues, should they have any reflections, especially like, do you feel like this is a valid challenge that you are facing while responding to the food security especially in Northwest Syria and maybe in different regions as well. Bengi, please.
Thank you, Barish. Thank you, Yaman. Yes, actually, the climate change is one of the biggest problems in terms of agriculture and food systems in Northwest Syria. But I wanted also to ask and uh, also highlight how we can distinguish between the agriculture practices, the quality of inputs used, and the climate change, because like we are aiming to optimize the product of the agriculture, and we don't have any modern techniques or data we can rely on once we are talking about the challenges, whether it was related to climate change or it was related to maybe the quality of the inputs or the bad agriculture practices utilized by the farmers. So and for the next workshop, can we also can I ask if we are including something related to the behavior change, because what we are facing also within the farmer community is that they have very big resilience to change, so they are not accepting the new practices, or they are not accepting even what we are proposing for climate change actions actually. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Bengi. Please, Hussein.
Yeah, thanks a million, Bengi, for your question and Yaman for your facilitation. Actually, from my side, this session only gonna be for info session about our upcoming meeting on 12th. But from my perspective, and could be right, could be wrong, but as far as I understood from your question, how to enhance agriculture in terms of climate change, I see there is still, or there are different points which we can enhance agriculture in terms of climate change, including and not limited to starting from adapt climate to resilient crop, or implementing sustainable farming practices, improve also water management, and also we can utilize, as you already mentioned, technology and innovation, and promoting integration with ecological principle into agriculture system, which can enhance biodiversity. Also, we can support smallholder farmers and strengthen the policy and researcher, and enhance risk management. I guess there is many ways according to each organization, according to each level. And for your information, Bengen, we try not only to focus on Northwest, but we try to make it for the whole Syria. So the project which gonna be succeed with us gonna be pilot for the whole Syria in the upcoming period. So I guess for the time being, identifying the challenge could be good. The topic which we are talking about, it's a bit wide, could be many topics subtitled under it, and we can discuss it further during our upcoming meeting on the 12th. And we are for sure looking forward to seeing you there, dear. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Hussein. Thank you very much, Hussein and Benguin, for your question. Maybe also the concept that we are running within this conveners as well is quite interactive, and we look into all the challenges. So you have mentioned this behavioral change, which I totally agree with you. However, it's also we could somehow include it or tackle this challenge also within the community themselves, which we could somehow include it also in the workshop in Hazaz or in Northwest Syria, also to have their also perspective here and see what kind of things could be developed together. So Benguin and others, I would encourage you always to look into these kind of things as a challenges, and it could be somehow could be tackled in a way or another in many approaches, which we call it innovations. We still have 5 minutes other time for also other questions. If someone have some reflections, questions, something that's not clear, would be happy to address. Otherwise, I will continue with the workshop, with the thing that we are just having this info session on that. We have learned from the WASH challenge mapping exercise that it would be also nice to prepare you or to give you more of like an advanced information about the Response Innovation Lab, what we are going to be doing, and etc. So you somehow incubate some ideas, challenges, challenges, data, whatever things related to the topic of food insecurity driven by climate change. So we could somehow collaborate more in an effective way. Uh, Hopefully, we could somehow map all the root challenges, the possible develop possible innovations, and etc. So, a food security challenge mapping exercise will take place in Gaziantep, 12th of February. We will be like, as for the confirmation list, we have around 21 participants, and we have like our colleagues from the FSL cluster together with the technical advisor in World Vision and some other colleagues. So we will be around 26. 26 colleagues. We will be doing spread into four working groups. So each working group will focus on a topic that is common between them in more of interactive way, in a collaborative way as well. So we might end up as an outcome of the food security challenge, not only focusing on only one challenge, maybe four challenges and maybe more. So it's the thing of uncertainty that Ruba was referring earlier this session. So you never know. We start with something that we see that's it's more of like addressing agriculture, and then you end up with something else. The workshop objective, as you can see from this session, the objective is to have or to bring together key stakeholders in the food security sector working in Northwest, and to gain a deeper understanding of the challenge that we have identified earlier and explore potential innovations, hence foster collaborations among different actors. I would like also to present you a nice video which would explain also, let me just stop, would also explain how the challenge mapping is in a very nice and interactive way. But just give me 1 second. Can you see my screen?
Yes, now we.
I guess now not. 1 second. Sorry, but I need also to include the voice. So the nice thing of this video is that would explain the challenge mapping exercise in a quite identified way. So
the humanitarian challenges we face are often unprecedented. From sudden disasters to protracted crises, our need to find solutions has never been greater. Response Innovation Lab lies at the heart of humanitarian innovation. We are a network of field-based labs that map and convene humanitarian actors, broker partnerships between challenge holders and innovators with our matchmaker service, generate evidence, and support and scale humanitarian innovation worldwide. So what does the convener do? A humanitarian challenge is like a puzzle. No single organization has all the pieces. Often, we don't know what the picture is or who else has pieces that fit. A convener helps us bring these pieces together. Let's think of a country. We'll call it Puzzleland, and it's been recently hit by a new pandemic. The needs are overwhelming. From personal protective equipment, soap and sanitizers, data management, to tracking and tracing new cases, to public health campaigns sensitizing populations in rural areas on the dangers the pandemic poses and mitigation strategies. There are organizations all over the country who have the capacity to help, but they don't know where to turn. Sade runs a local NGO that trains teachers. Anand has a startup company working with rural cooperatives producing textiles and soap. Dimitri works for an international NGO, and he is a whiz with funding and scaling up solutions. And Meena works for the Ministry of Health, managing supply chain and tracking new cases. They received an invitation from Response Innovation Lab to convene a workshop in the capital, Puzzleville. At the convener, health workers, NGOs, the UN, the government, academia, and private sector worked together to build a visual map that helps them better understand all the players in the ecosystem of the pandemic response. Here, Anand met with Meena. Together, they started working on designing and producing PPE for health workers. Anand also met Dimitri, and they are working on scaling up soap production for communities hit by the virus. Sade connected with an NGO that helps her create a new curriculum for teachers sensitizing rural communities on the virus and mitigation strategies. But Meena still feels there's a crucial piece missing. The country is vast, and as clusters of the disease emerge, she needs to send help to those communities quickly. If only she had fast and reliable data on new cases emerging. And Sade is not the only one. Many others feel there is a gap in mapping the disease outbreaks in rural areas. To better enable these actors, Response Innovation Lab has helped them create a challenge map. By using our principles of human-centered design and a systems approach to analyzing the public health landscape in Puzzleland, Meena and her peers have identified the lack of rapid diagnostics in rural areas as a key problem that innovation could solve. Now they have consensus on what the problem is. Meena can now take the challenge to the Response Innovation Lab Matchmaker service to receive help finding an affordable and reliable solution. Over time, as the pandemic response changes, Sade, Dimitri, Anand, and Meena can refer to the ecosystem map to connect with others and further respond and understand challenges as they arrive. Reach out to the Response Innovation Lab to learn how we can help you tackle your challenges better.
So if we can see, it's more of comprehensive, but a bit somehow nice. Also the animations and etc. Seeing that how the system works from having the ecosystem mapping, seeing the different actors, having this collaboration between others, and the opportunity or opportunities could somehow emerge within these kind of activities. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I disconnected it. So it's more of like having this collaboration, trying also, maybe we will not succeed of mapping all the challenges, but at the same time, mapping a challenges that could be somehow addressed with either innovations, with some of the solutions and etc. Or even that if we don't have the solutions in mind, at least we have the challenge in mind that we could somehow advocate or bringing into the table while we are talking to donors, developing project proposals, and etc. What we will be doing is using also design thinking tools that will help us just to ideate, generate ideas, explore the challenges in more details. So as you have noticed, it's or within this video that we have included is design thinking. It's a human-centered design, collaborative approach to problem solving that is creative, iterative, and practical. So in simple words, we use design thinking as or is a mindset that helps you solve problems creatively. Um, so it's all about exploring possibilities, then narrowing them down, and this is why I really liked how Hussein was saying that while identifying the problem or the challenge, he said that's it's broad but focused. So broad, it's just tackling that the uncertainty of like we have a bit a broad challenge, but at the same time it could be somehow analyzed in a way or another, and then being focused and to address it with innovation. We cannot address everything with innovations, so we always keep in mind that we try to tackle or identify challenges that could be solved, that could be addressed, whether some innovation approaches with prototyping, with product innovations, and etc. So the while in the workshop, we always trying to have some scales, some parameters, just to continue the work of exploring the challenges, but also to be more of a realistic in a way or another, just to be able to develop more of tangible results. Um, it doesn't mean that it's not uncertain, because like I still remember when we began our first wash challenge mapping exercise, I initially thought that we would end up with a bed lantern or a filtration treatment system or station, but that was not the case. By focusing on the core challenge, we unlocked new solutions and arrived at true innovations. And we have identified this. It's not about having a wash facility or treatment stations, rather than including this kind of database or data tool that would somehow facilitate a better level of response at the sanitation processes. So normally the stages of the design thinking process, it's beginning with emphasize, knowing who are the ones we are designing for, and designing here means like the ones we are somehow targeting, like beneficiaries, institutions, organizations, and etc. Define while what is the problem we are serving, ideate, generate as much of ideas, solutions, adaptations, concepts, and etc. And then we turn it into an idea for a tangible thing. That's I was mentioning that we also always make sure that we go for a challenge that is tangible, so we could somehow address by innovations. And then we test and we do the prototype. So, what we'll be doing in the workshop in Gaziantep and also as a follow-up in Azaz or Northwest Syria is to have the first three: emphasize, define, and ideate. Emphasize also, like it's more of like I will give it more of a homework. So while this we have a like we have a time until next Wednesday, you could somehow also think of all these vulnerable groups or the target groups that you are working within your normal work, that they are somehow indirectly or directly impacted by the food insecurity driven by climate change. From their perspectives, what could be the root challenges? What could be the solutions? Uh, what there would be their concerns, their hopes, how the solution could be look like from their perspectives. So put yourself in the shoe of the most vulnerable groups and with the vulnerabilities of the identified challenge. Defining the problem, and this is something that we will be doing or starting our workshop with, is like the as mentioned by Hussein, it's more of a broad challenge, but we would be explore the root challenges that somehow leads into this broader challenges, and then we could somehow identify more of tangible problem that we could somehow move to the ideation phase, where we generate ideas and solutions. And like we will not be doing a rocket science. We will not be developing a Tesla car or on an application that would kill the world on etc. And the contrary, we will be doing a lot more generating ideas, exploring a lot of the challenges, the issues, understanding also the relationships between the different stakeholders, and trying to collaborate or at least come to agreement that we will be collaborating together as a group of innovation. Um, for instance, this Innovation Wash Club came from the group themselves. They have said that we have seen the merit of the Response Innovation Lab and the convening event, and we would like you to facilitate the discussion and keep the discussion going, especially when it comes to innovation in the wash sector. So we will be doing or following the same approach on that, but it's like imagine that you are the ownership, you have the ownership of the process. You could somehow choose or identify the challenges or the solutions that you want. And ooh, the nice thing about innovation, it's more of like we are quite flexible, and we are always trying to pivot from things to others, just to address any concerns or challenges faced either by the participants or also by the wider audience. So, what is expected from you? As I mentioned, emphasize, think of those who are designing solutions for research. So I'm not going to ask you for do more of a homework, but like if you could within this 10 days time or 8 days time, if you could somehow within your workload, within while working on addressing food security challenges, I would encourage you to explore a bit about the root challenges that came to this food insecurity by climate change, maybe also to bring some lessons learned from your personal experiences that could be somehow of help of interest to the discussion, and whatever relevant data you could somehow bring to the table, it would be super nice. The most important thing is committing. So engage fully and bring your dedication. So as it's only one day, and we normally like in Somalia or in Nepal or in Uganda, they do more of like 5 days of intensive convening events for only one challenge. But because I respect your workload and I understand that you might not be available for a whole weekend, etc., we have decided to make it for one day. But I would rely on your understanding of really committing for a one full day without having any like in and out things and etc. There's gonna be some coffee breaks and breaks in between, so you could somehow respond to some urgency. But we really rely on your dedication and your engagement as well, because as I mentioned, design thinking. It's always about collaboration and engagement and sharing. So we would love to hear from your expertise, from your lessons learned, and etc. And finally, to innovate, share your expertise and collaborate for impactful solutions. Um, you might seem that we are the innovators, but normally or usually Response Innovation Lab, it's more of facilitating position rather than innovators themselves. So we rely on your expertise, your knowledge, your energy as well, and your dedication to the cause of helping the most vulnerable groups, especially on the food security. So we are facilitating the process, but as I mentioned, that you are the owners, you have the ownership over the process, over the solutions, over the challenges as well. And we will be doing a lot of advocating, either at the FSL cluster, which is I totally appreciate their generous supports from the first beginning, starting from the preparation until the ending of these results. And I rely that's on their support as well, on also advocating for the other challenges that might be, that we might not have the enough resources for addressing all of these kind of challenges. It's just the beginning. It's something that we could somehow build on the future. There's a lot of ideas that could be somehow being piloted. Especially there's a lot of intersectionality between food security and WASH. And the sky is limit. It's just like we need your collaboration, your energy, and if you feel like it's of interest to you, of course. So, having said that, this is all from our side for